Hello everyone, I'm back for part 4. And Elsen is in trouble. Let's go. Garrick needed him. Elsen wrenched himself back onto his feet, forced himself to take the final steps to reach his friend. Fingin swept his head around and bowled him over, growling into his face. Elsen swallowed hard. The dragon looked furious, and his hot breath didn't reassure him. Fingin, he gasped, I'm here to help. The dragon hissed and turned back to Garrick. He gently nudged his rider, with no response. Elsen got back to his feet, feeling the ache of the many bruises he had gathered this afternoon. Let me see him, he said, as gently as he could, edging closer to Garrick. Fingin swung his massive head with a wild roar, grabbed Elsen's arm with his teeth, and flung him away. Elsen tumbled across the sand, getting it into his mouth, his ears, and his hair. He curled up, spitting and wiping the sand from his face. Desperation filled his heart. How could he help Garrick if his dragon wouldn't even let him touch his friend? How could he make Fingin listen to him? Angrily, he scrubbed away tears. Now was not the time to cry, even though he hurt all over and he was out of ideas to reach the frantic dragon. He looked around as if ideas could be found lying on the beach. Somehow, his eyes were drawn to his pack. Suddenly he jumped up and scrambled to it. Frantically, he dug out the horn that Fingin had given him earlier in the day, moments that felt as if they had happened ages ago. With the horn in hand, he walked back to the dragon. Holding it up and out, he focused on reaching Fingin with both words and mind. Fingin, look. Listen to me. Remember this? The dragon whipped his head around, eyes wild. He froze. Fingin, Elsen said, please listen to me. He lifted the horn a little. Remember? The dragon blinked a few times. I remember. Please listen. I can help Garrick. Garrick needs help. Yes, he needs help, and I'm here to help him. Elsen bit his lip, still holding up the silly horn. You, Elsen, help. Yes, I will help Garrick, if you let me. Fingin blinked again, some intelligence coming back to his eyes. Of course. Yes, please help Garrick. Elsen dropped the horn, and after one hasty step forced himself to walk calmly to his friend's side. The last thing he needed was scaring the dragon again. Garrick lay crumpled on his side. Elsen could see a track along the steep side of the cliff where he had tumbled down. Please don't be dead, he thought, and gritted his teeth. Shaking, he knelt down next to his friend and rolled him over on his back. Blood seeped from scratches on his face, and one wound looked like he had banged his head on a rock. Blood from it clotted in Garrick's hair. Elsen dismissed those injuries when he saw Garrick's left arm. It was bent in a place where it shouldn't. He put a hand on his friend's shoulder and gripped it. Garrick, can you hear me? A slight moan was the answer he was looking for, and he took a breath of relief. He's alive, he said, thinking the words to Fingin. The dragon came closer, looking over Elsen's shoulder. A massive sigh blew across Elsen's neck. Yes, I can see that now, but his arm looks funny. Elsen heaved a sigh of relief. Fingin was back to normal, thinking and talking to him. Now they could set about rescuing Garrick. Yes, we need to do something about that and then get him on your back so you can fly us home. I like that plan. The dragon's voice was much more cheerful. First, I need some rods or sticks to keep his arm safe, and then I'll load you up and get us ready to fly. I think there are some sticks for the extra windbreak that Garrick packed. Pesuma insisted on it. This might work, and there should be string too. Elsen was relieved there was something he could do. Even though he had never been allowed to participate in any real hunting or a serious fighting game, he had been taught field medicine together with his brother, and just stabilizing a broken arm so a real medic could take care of it later wasn't hard. He dug around their packs until he found the windbreak that Fingin had mentioned. In the end, he carefully wrapped the entire windbreak fabric around Garrick's arm, embedding some of the supports in the wrap so the arm couldn't be jarred. Then he strapped the bundle to Garrick's chest. His friend's eyelids fluttered just then, and he moaned again. "It's all right," Elsen said quickly. "We're almost ready to take you home." "What a stupid thing to do," Garrick whispered. Elsen felt a laugh bubbling up, and he couldn't stop it. He was so relieved that Garrick sounded perfectly normal. "We won't tell anyone," he promised, and was rewarded by a twitch of Garrick's lips. "Now I just have to load everything on Fingin, and then we can see about getting you up on him." Garrick nodded and closed his eyes, obviously drifting off again. Elsen looked at the dragon, and dread filled him a moment later. Yes, their gear was down here, but Fingin's harness was still at the top of the cliff. "Fingin, can you get your harness down here?" "It would be better to put it on right up there. The sand chafes my scales." But you need me to do that, right?" "Yes." "I can't climb up there." "I'll take you up there." Elsen swallowed hard. "Just like that?" "Yes, it's easy." He had never ridden a dragon without a harness. Come to think of it, he also had never ridden one without a rider. He gritted his teeth. "All right, we'll do this. First things first. How do I even get up on you?" The dragon rumbled with amusement. "You step on my leg, grab a ridge, and pull yourself up." That sounded fairly easy. Elsen took a deep breath. When Fingin held out his front leg, he gingerly stepped on it. "I'm not hurting you, am I?" "Not at all." With a sudden movement, Fingin tilted and lifted his leg, almost catapulting Elsen onto his back. The prince grabbed one of the ridges and clung tight. "Throw your leg over, like mounting a horse." "Oh, right." Elsen knew he was trembling, but he still managed to pull himself further up and slide his right leg over the dragon's back. For a moment he worried about hitting a wing. "Good. Now sit up." Elsen pulled himself into place, unable to stop his trembling. "Now hang on with your legs and hold on to the ridge." Fingin, wait. "Yes?" "I'm not sure I can do this." The dragon swiveled his head around to look at Elsen. "You don't have to do anything else. Now it's my turn." Fingin raised his wings. "I'm going to jump now. Hang on." Elsen gritted his teeth, clamped his legs to the dragon's sides, and clung to the ridge with both hands. "I'm not going to let you fall, Elsen." The dragon's voice was gentle. And then he crouched and jumped, beating down hard with the first stroke. Elsen's heart hammered in his chest, and he held his breath. It took a couple of massive wing beats, but then the dragon gained height and aimed out over the sea. "Breathe," he told Elsen. Startled, the prince flinched and started breathing again, finally able to look around. Fingin simply curved around and glided into a slow, perfect landing on top of the cliff right next to his harness. "You can just lift your leg over the ridge and slide down my shoulder," he instructed Elsen. It took an effort to unclench his hands, but then Elsen was able to do as he was told. His knees barely held him up when he hit the ground, and he sank against the dragon. "I'm sorry," he whispered, shaking from head to toe. Somehow, he felt strength flood him. "You did very well for a non-dragon rider." Fingin nudged him gently. "But we need to move on." "Right." Elsen pushed himself up, taking several deep breaths. "Teach me how to put on your harness." He was surprised when Fingin simply showed him in his mind. "That's easy." "Yes." Elsen thought he could see the dragon smile. She shook out the harness, and Fingin stuck his head into it and shrugged it down his neck. Elsen threw over the main strap and fastened the buckle before closing the breast belt. He noticed the attached safety straps that he had used on their way to the beach. "We'll use those to tie Garrick to me," Fingin explained. "But first buckle the tail belt." Elsen realized that those would keep the baggage in place, all their camp gear that was still lying on the beach. But first they had to get down again. Mounting the dragon felt a lot less dangerous this time around. Elsen used the straps to pull himself up after stepping on Fingin's leg and swung into place. "Well done. Strap down." As soon as Elsen had done so, Fingin took a few steps and tilted off the cliff. Elsen's heart was in his mouth. The dragon spread his wings wide and sailed out over the sea and then back to the beach in a large curve. He landed without having beaten his wings once, and Elsen could actually appreciate that control. "Well done," he said, feeling presumptuous a moment later. Who was he to compliment a dragon on his flying? "Thank you." Once again he had the feeling the dragon smiled. Unbuckling was simple, and even sliding down Fingin's shoulder felt good in a strange way. "You'd make a good Dragonrider." Deep longing choked Elsen's throat. "I can't." "I know." The prince took a deep breath. "Let's get Garrick home." "Yes." Fingin told Elsen exactly where to strap which load, and the prince was glad they never got to set up their camp. Everything was still bundled up and easy to put back on the dragon. He even remembered to pick up Garrick's shoe as well as his horn and stuff them into his backpack. And I will end the video here. We're getting things done, but there will be one more video to end the story. Until then, bye for now.